Hey everybody, my name is Marcela Dominguez and I am from the law firm of Marcela Dominguez. I'm doing this video today because I feel like it's really important in light of everything that's going on right now, to understand how to protect your assets and create a will in times of illness. Now, I know this is a topic that people don't really like to talk about. It's a topic that um, people feel very apprehensive or scared to even mention to their family members because it's not necessarily the most positive topic, right? But if you're somebody who is willing to always be prepared for circumstances that you may not always, um, nobody could have thought that we were going to be entering this coronavirus epidemic and that it would hit so hard as it has hit. And so I think that that's the whole point of this discussion that I'm going to have with you today is how do you prepare for those times that you couldn't have envisioned, that you couldn't have, there was no way for you to predict what was going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're going to leave this earth. And you always have to be prepared, whether that means that you're leaving because it's coronavirus that got you, or because it's a car accident, or because it was just a natural death in your sleep. And what we have seen as lawyers is, is that people come to us like right when they're in the midst of the illness. I've had clients in the past who, like their mom is getting sick. And so they think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to make her decisions? The hospital is asking me for all these documents that I had no idea that I needed. I had heard the terms before, but I just never thought there was a need to be prepared. And so it's when those hard times hit that you realize that you should have been prepared. You should have been asking the right questions. You should have been watching the right YouTube videos, because sometimes in those moments, it's too late. For example, if you're someone that has been thinking about making a will and you thought to yourself, well, I don't know how, so I'm just going to put it off. Or, I know that I need to encourage my mom to go get one because she's been going to the doctor more often than usual. Or, she's getting to an age where she's getting to be a little bit forgetful. And you keep putting it off and you sweep it under the rug because you're going to tend to it later. I can tell you that if your mom does lose her memory, or if something happens to your mom where she does not have 100% capacity to be able to execute that document, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem because in Texas, and I'm pretty sure that this rule is applicable to more states than just Texas, but I don't want to speak for other states because I am licensed in Texas. So in Texas, there is a requirement that to make a will, you have to be of sound mind and you have to have capacity. And so if your mom or you have already entered a period where you have Alzheimer's, you have dementia, you're not necessarily of sound mind, or there is a doubt that you are not of sound mind, then that's a huge problem because you're not going to be able to execute that document, or that document isn't going to be considered valid when it's presented to a court later on. It's the lawyer's job to basically make sure that whoever creates a will is of sound mind. And that is only one of a few other requirements. And but that's such an important requirement. And the reason I'm bringing that up is, like I said, people wait until the very last minute to do what they should have done. And people don't want to talk about this issue. They hate the issue. To be quite frank, death is just not a positive topic that most people want to talk about, but we all have to be realistic, especially in these times. I hate to admit that I have watched the news and I've been reading the news, but hey, I have to stay on top of current events, right? There are males in their 40s, fathers with young children who have passed because of this virus. And, I hope that those families have been well cared for, well taken care of, that whatever assets belong to these 40-year-old men, are in essence, providing for their family, which I'm sure um, these assets will cover for part of the future expenses. But being able to reach and take ownership of those assets is what is really difficult. That is the difficult part. If your husband or your significant other didn't leave a will, if he didn't leave a will saying that some of these belongings are for his family or that they are for you, for his significant other, then you're going to have to follow the laws of intestacy in your state, which can be a very, very costly process that a lawyer can only really take you through in the courts. And so having a will is like having insurance. It kind of protects you from having your family members go through this very costly and emotionally and psychologically time-consuming process when you are no longer here. I think the last thing that people want to think about when you are no longer on this earth is, gosh, now I have to go to court and now I have to, be in the trenches with how I'm going to, distribute his assets. How am I going to take ownership of those assets so that I can make sure that my children have access to some of the funds? Or how can I make sure that if he didn't have any kids as a significant other, how do I make sure that I'm going to have access to the things that were his? And so the laws of intestacy will provide for that if you guys were, the laws of intestacy will provide for that, period. But with a will, you can avoid having to go through this arduous probate process, which can be very time consuming and it can be very, very expensive. So just to give you an example, here in Texas, in El Paso, which is where I'm located, probating can cost somewhere around anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000. Whereas having a will can cost you anywhere between $35, because I am actually going to let you know about a very special document that I'm going to be providing at the end of this stream. And it's only going to cost you $35, which is such a minimal fee compared to the $2,500, the $3,000, the $3,500 that you might end up paying an attorney later on. And so I don't want you to wait until that very last minute when somebody in your family has gotten sick or you yourself have gotten sick to realize that you should have been protecting your assets all along. And so people ask, well, what kind of assets? What assets should I be protecting? How do I know that a will is right for me? Let's say I'm a 20-year-old. So maybe I just graduated from college or I'm in my last year of college. All I really own is a car. And even at that, my parents own the car. They're just, they bought it for me. So in your type of situation, you don't necessarily have to be thinking about a will for yourself. But, you should be speaking to your parents and your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles about protecting those assets. Because, like I said, if they have not been having this discussion openly and freely, chances are they're putting it on the back burner. They're putting it on the back burner. And guess who's going to end up paying those $2,500 to $3,500 to go to court once they are not here? It's going to be you, the college student. If you want to gain access to whatever it is they have, then you're going to have to go through that court process in order to let the court know, hey, I am the son or daughter of this person who passed away. And according to the laws of intestacy, I'm entitled to those things. And so although you as the college student don't necessarily need the will for yourself if you don't have assets, you should be having this discussion with your parents. Now, I have been having this discussion with my own family. And trust me, even though I am in the legal profession, It is not easy. It is not easy to have this discussion. Like I said, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to face the cold hard truth that one day we're not going to be here on this planet. But that's just life. And, it's better to be prepared. And like I said, the reason that I'm on this topic is because it is beyond me how these young men have passed from this pandemic. 40-year-old men. I mean, that is it to me, it's just it's quite unbelievable. Unfortunately, in times of illness, we do expect that children and elderly people are the most vulnerable. And so we know that we should be having an open discussion with elderly people about their assets, but it's the 40-year-old men, the 40-year-old women who think that they still have the rest of their lives to be preparing for how to pass on their assets. It's like it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my gosh, I should have thought about this yesterday. I should have been prepared. And when you're on that hospital bed, or when you're having a hard time breathing, or when your grandma is losing her memory, that is not really the right time to be thinking, oh my gosh, I need to execute my documents right now. I need to be calling my grandma before she gets Alzheimer's. You need to be having these discussions right now openly with the right people. So if you have assets, then you need to be taking all of what I'm saying to heart. So I gave you the example of the 20-year-old university student who more than likely doesn't have assets. But so although you as a 20-year-old don't need to be thinking about a will, probably you need to be having this discussion with your parents, your grandparents, your great aunts, your uncles, especially if they have children of their own, and especially if they have a house, they have a car, they have personal belongings that need to be passed on to somebody. So the things that don't need to be worried about, though, are things that you have to name a beneficiary on. So like if you have life insurance, when you apply for life insurance, there's actually a line. If you have life insurance, then you know what I'm talking about. On the line, it says who will be the beneficiary of these proceeds. And so things where you have to name a beneficiary don't have to be included in a will, because those are a separate contract that will be it's just a separate contract. So those things don't need to be included in a will. So if you were to pass, we're going to look at the life insurance contract, and we're going to say, okay, who did he or she name as the beneficiary? And that is who the proceeds are going to go to. So you don't have to worry about including that sort of stuff in a will. But what about your house? If you own a house, there is no separate contract for the house that says, in the event that I pass, this is who my house is going to. In the event that I pass, this is who I designate to have my car. In the event that I pass, who is going to take on, just as an example, I don't have a jewelry collection, but let's say somebody who owns a beautiful, very expensive jewelry collection. Who is going to own that jewelry collection? There is no separate contract for your jewelry collection like there is for life insurance that says that XYZ person is going to be the beneficiary of that jewelry collection. And so things like that need to be put into a will so that when you are not here, the instructions are clear cut about who is going to take what. I can tell you that I have also seen in court, and I have heard from other lawyers also, that people come out of the woodworks, people that don't even call you during your lifetime to find out how you're doing, but that are related to you. These could be very good friends. These could be brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins. And these people who you haven't heard from during your lifetime will come out of the woodworks once you are gone to see what kind of stake they have in your assets. So if you don't have a will, then you can imagine what kind of chaos and controversy this is going to cause for the people that truly are close to you, but who now have to go through this probate process because you did not designate who your stuff is going to. So through the devastation and through the emotional, I mean, you can imagine once you're gone, there's somebody who's going to be crying and who's going to be super emotional about the fact that you're no longer here. So I think the last thing that you want to put them through is having to be in court and trying to defend your stuff against people that never, ever, ever came around during your lifetime. And so why wouldn't you just make it clear for the court in a will and say, you know what? This is who I really want my house to go to because this is who deserves it. This is who my jewelry collection should go to. This is who my car should go to. And your assets could be numerous ones. I am just giving very, very simple, basic ones for, the common household, that those are the belongings that they have. Those are the assets that your parents have worked really hard to provide to make sure that they left you with. And so, if you're not having this discussion with your parents and with your cousins and your family members, then I think now is the time to have it. We're living in very close quarters right now because of the self-quarantining or because of the shelter-in-place rules that are, pervasive throughout our country right now. And so now is the time to either get on the phone with somebody who's at home, get on the phone with your mom, get on the phone with your grandma. If you're the one who needs a will, then maybe you really need to be introspective and have that conversation with yourself and say, do I have all my ducks in a row in the event that I am not going to be here in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, even a couple of years? Best case scenario is there is not one more death from coronavirus, not one more. We all survive this and we kick its ass. But what if we don't? Or what if we get really, really sick and we're like, man, I should have done something about it when I had the chance? Because for $37 right now, I am going to give you the exact same template that I use with my clients when they come to me. So for $37, you are going to be able to say, I want my daughter to have this, my son to have this, I want my mom to have this, or I don't want anybody to have anything. You can say that in a will. You can say, I don't want anybody to have a single thing of mine that I have worked hard for. I want it to go to so-and-so charity. You can say whatever you want in a will. And that is the beauty of a will, is that it is going to outlive you. It is going to tell your executor. It is going to tell the court. It is going to tell everybody how you want your stuff to be distributed, who you want it to go to, or who you do not want it to go to. And that is something that you cannot do once you're sick and it's too late. You shouldn't be asking for a will once you're on your deathbed. You shouldn't be asking for a power of attorney when you're sick. Your grandma should have been encouraged by you as her grandson, as her son, as her nephew, her niece, granddaughter, to be thinking about the right documents when they are still of sound mind. When the sound mind is gone, it's just too late. It's just too late. So I really, really want to encourage you guys to be having this discussion with your families. A will is so simple to get your hands on because I am giving it to you here for just $37. All you have to do is, we were going to actually include this on our website, but we didn't. So if you just go to paypal.me/artsmusiclawyer, if somebody can type that out, paypal.me/artsmusiclawyer, for $37, I am going to send you the template that I use with my clients that costs above $200. So you are getting this document at a fraction of the cost that you would get it if you went to me anyway. And you're going to be prepared with instructions and directions as to what and how everybody should be distributing your assets. If your grandma doesn't have one, then right now is the time for you to be like, you know what? I'm going to take this $37 document and I'm going to take it to my grandma and I'm going to make sure that she fills it out. Okay, it's super easy to use because the areas that you need to fill out, I have already highlighted for you. All you have to do is type in your information. This will that I'm going to provide for you for $37 at paypal.me/arts music lawyer. Just send $37 and we're going to make sure that you get this template. It includes, of course, your personal information. You know, who is the testator? Are you the testator? The testator is the person executing the will. So if this will is for you, then you would be the one putting your name on that document. Can two people execute a will? No. Each person gets a will. And so I've had clients before that say, oh, I was under the impression that as husband and wife, we could execute a will. No. Each person has to have their will. Do you see how that works? If two people executed a will, a husband and a wife, what would happen if just one of them passed away? Who would all her belongings go to? To him? We don't know. That's why she gets her own will. She gets to say what happens with her stuff. He gets to say what happens with his stuff. Every son, every daughter, every mother, every father, every grandmother, every grandfather, everybody is entitled to their own will because everybody has their own assets, no matter how large or how small. So it's really critical that you understand that in this document, I am providing you with what you need to properly execute a will in Texas. It is the template that I give to my clients. All you have to do is fill in the blanks with your information. What is your name? Do you have children? What are the names of your children? What are your assets? Who are these assets going to? Do you have funeral arrangements? Do you have plans, specific plans for when you're not here? Did you already prepay for your funeral arrangements? Most importantly, who's going to be the executor of your will? Who do you trust the most in your circle to follow the instructions on that will? Is it your mom? Is it your husband? Is it one of your kids? Because we all know that there's one kid who's usually more responsible than the others. Who is it? No one is going to know these things if you don't put them on paper. No one's going to know. And guess what? Like I said, when you're no longer here and you haven't left a will, you haven't left instructions, all of your children might come forward and say, I'm the responsible one that my mom would have wanted to distribute her assets. Or you know what? Because I am her mother, I am entitled to distribute her assets. And guess what? You may not have spoken to your mom in the last 3 weeks because she was mad at you about something. When you leave a will, there's just not a lot of room for doubt. Somebody might come forward and they might try to argue it, but there is very little room for doubt. Whereas when you don't have a will, you could see how there's a lot of room left for doubt. Because nobody knows, nobody has a clue what you would have wanted, and it's all a guessing game. So again, I'm going to include the link down here. It's paypal.me/artsmusiclawyer. It's going to be on our website up soon at marcellatm.com/will. And for $37, I am giving you the template that you can use that's going to allow you to name an executor, name your assets, who the assets are going to. It already includes the lines for 2 witness signatures. It includes everything that you need. There's no guessing. I'm making it so easy for you because in these times of illness, like I said, are you reading the news? It's crazy. It's crazy that even the people that were in spring break in Florida, I believe last week, some of them have now tested positive for coronavirus. And I think to myself, wow, these are young kids. We expected elderly people and children to be the most vulnerable. Not the mothers, not the fathers that are at their prime age to be carrying out their daily functions. And the longer you avoid this discussion, the harder you are making it on your sons, your daughters, and everybody around you who cares about you to figure out what to do with your items when you're not here. So if you care enough about them, if you care enough about your hard-earned assets that you're currently working to build and to provide to your kids, then make it easy for them. Make it easy. Why would you make it hard? Why? Once you are done filling out the document and getting it signed by 2 witnesses and getting it notarized, that's it. You don't have to think about it anymore unless you want to make updates to it. If you want to make updates to it, we can talk about that. You'll just have to send me an email at lawfirm@marcellatm.com. But the importance of being prepared during this time, I feel, is so critical because of the unexpected consequences of what this coronavirus has done for a lot of families. Like I said, 40-year-old men, that's something we're not expecting. Spring breakers in their 20s. We know that children and the elderly are the most vulnerable. So why are you going to wait until the moment is lost? Whether that means because we lost them to dementia, we lost them to a hospital bed, we lost them to coronavirus, we lost them to natural circumstances because, people do pass in their sleep. Why? Why would you wait? What are you waiting for is the real question. Because there is no right time except now to be prepared. So many people are running out to get toilet paper and water. And they're not even sure that we're going to run out of water or toilet paper in the future. But people are preparing to wipe their butts in case there isn't toilet paper. But why wouldn't you protect your assets and your children and your family with a $37 document? It doesn't make sense to me. You'll run out and you'll get toilet paper and you'll stock up and you'll probably have toilet paper for the rest of 2020. But when it comes to investing in the assets and the things that matter most for your future, you're not prepared, are you? Be sincere with yourself. Are you prepared? Once it's done and over with, you don't have to think about it anymore. You keep it in a safe place. You keep the original in the safe place. File it with the court. Keep it at a bank in their safety deposit box. That original is so important. And I am giving you a will that you can use that's going to be so easy to fill out. So either send me a message with your email so that we can get one to you, or go to paypal.me/artsmusiclawyer. And for $37, I will send it to you. Or if you simply want to have a consult about this whole issue, send me an email, lawfirm@marcellatm.com. Okay. If you guys have any questions, I encourage you to either drop them in the comments below, send me an email. We're all working from home. Well, a lot of people are working from home right now. I am working from home. But I want to make sure that you guys are aware, of how easy it is to make a will if you're in Texas. Most especially because I'm giving you this document. So it's not something that you can excuse any longer. You don't have the excuse, I don't know how, I didn't know how to do it, because you are on this discussion learning how. So send me an email at lawfirm@marcellatm.com or go to paypal.me/artsmusiclawyer, and for just send $37 and I am going to make sure that you have a template. Okay? There's no excuse any longer. So you all stay safe out there. Wash your hands, practice social distancing, stay in your home if you can, and let's help #flatten the curve. I hope this was helpful to everybody, and stay safe out there. Hey, everybody.